Hello, this is Chris from Optinet, and in this video, the first in a new series, we're going to dig deep into some of the setup functions of Flex, helping you to truly understand some of the complex and more powerful sections of the Flex system, helping you to really maximize your usage of Flex. We're starting this series with one of the most commonly used sections of Flex, which is the patient diary. So, just to show you where we're building from at the moment, I've got a completely empty diary, and that's where we're going to begin. So I'm going to click into Setup and we'll choose the appointment diary. This video, by the way, still useful for how to build your diary. I'll let you know when we get on towards that section. So under the appointments setup, I'm going to click on General. And what we see here is actually the first of 5 different pages where we can go through. And again, in this Dig Deep series, we're going to look at every button and what they all do. So we'll see a list here of all of the branches for your practice or practices. Obviously, we've just got the one, mine's just on default at the moment, but they'd all be listed down here. Most of the pages, 4 out of the 5, will be specific just to that practice because, of course, you want and need the power for your diaries to be built according to how they all work a little bit differently. The one page which is global is the appointment reasons, and we'll speak about that in a few minutes' time. So here it just shows our opening hours. You can of course add or remove days or change the times. The only importance of this really is if you come to build appointments outside of your opening hours, Flex will give you a nudge to say, oh, you're not actually open on that day, which is quite a useful feature, just in case you've accidentally built a day, for example. On the second of 2 pages, what we can have here are the names of your testing rooms. I say testing rooms, clinics, chairs, it's up to you the wording that we actually use. So you can have all of your rooms shown here just for the branch which we've got logged into. Display order, these will display on the multi-view from left to right. The lower the number, the closer to the left-hand side it'll be. Active just means it's actually turned on so we can see it on the system. And dashboard active, this is an important one to mention. What this means is these appointments are being looked at for your appointment analysis in the dashboards. You can check out my separate video, by the way, about that. It just shows there, for example, for your collections room, you're not going to be fussed on selling every single appointment for that. It's not important for your analysis, but the testing room, obviously you would. We're now on to the third of 3 pages, and this is the one which I mentioned was global, and we can see that because we've got this little globe in the top right-hand corner. This is a list of your appointment reasons, and these will be applicable to all of the practices. Reason description, we've just got purely a name of what you want the appointment to appear as in the list. Do be aware, by the way, that if you don't overwrite an old one, if you think, oh, I never use DVLA, I'm going to call that fields, because that would, of course, impact the older appointments. I'm just going to rename site test to site exam, a legitimate change, but just to show you there that it will warn us, it will update any previous appointments of that type. The length of the appointments, as you know, you can set between 5 and 90 minutes when you're booking into Flex, but you can set a default length in here. So when you choose this reason from the list, it will set it to be that number. Again, you can put absolutely any number in there that you wish. Background and foreground colour, we can see a sample of these down the bottom. So as I click through my appointment reasons, you can see how all of the different colours actually appear here. Little tip, by the way, if you use your scroll wheel on the mouse, you can go through and choose a different colour. They've all got somewhat paint chart names. Misty Rose, a personal favourite. So you can go through and choose the colour that you want that appointment to appear as. And indeed, you can then choose the foreground and the background colour. So some colours work better with white text than black. So you can set that, but indeed, you've got them all there if you want. Suppress ST and Suppress CL are 2 probably the most important parts of this setup. What these mean is that when a patient books for that appointment reason, it will actually suppress, so suspend, remove their reminder correspondence, their letter, their text or email, because when they're booked in, it will stop them getting it. We use the word suppress because if they then cancel or fail to attend, it will be reinstated. I'm just going to demonstrate, so I'm just going to click out and click to the home screen, bear with. I wanted to show you that if we make a change to these appointment suppressions, the site test or the contact lens tick boxes, then it's going to trigger the little yellow warning triangle. So if I tick suppress ST for this one, then you see now that warning triangle's appeared. That means that we've made a change to the recourse. If we were to hover over that outside of this setup, it would just say you've made changes, a timeline rebuild may be required. Plenty more about that on the portal. You can always drop us an email or a live chat or send us a ticket about that if you want to. But it just means that anyone who books for this reason moving forward they will not get their sight exam reminder. That is incorrect for contact lens test. So you could have both of these ticked, for example, if that said ST and CL, but do just make sure the tick boxes all look as they should do. I remember practice recently, they'd got collections ticked. I think they just created the reason, gone through and ticked everything, and that meant anyone who booked for a collection, which would be pretty much everyone due to the times we're in, after their sight exam, that would have suppressed their upcoming exam letter in 12 or 24 months' time. We found that within a few days because the triangle was triggered, but it's always worth knowing what these tick boxes do. Also working in tandem are NHS Warning and Prepare GOS. So NHS Warning, that will warn if the patient isn't yet due a sight examination. It's set to 30 days by default, and I'll show you in the branch setup where we can customise these, but it just means that the patient, you will get a warning that the patient might not be due, so it's good to keep you on track to maybe take an early retest code might be needed, or warn them that they may have to pay for their examination. And Prepare GOS, if you're still printing out GOS forms, probably the GOS 2s, it will drop those into the list. So that's when you use the diary to Prepare GOS, it will look for NHS appointment reasons for NHS patients. So a 62-year-old having a contact lens test wouldn't appear, for example, due to Prepare GOS not being ticked on contact lens test. Non-bookable reasons we'll speak more about in a moment's time, but these are different reasons why appointments can be blocked out by default. So we'll see how all this computes, but lunch has just got lunch put in here, but you can set different non-bookable reasons, which I'll show you where we set those up, and it will block out the lunch break in the clinic. Display order, you can just choose how these all display. There's only 3 on my list, so for example I might want to alphabetize them. I could just choose 1, 2, 3. Don't have to be perfect numerical order, just ascending order is fine. So if you've got a new one you want to put right at the top of the list, number 0 is fine, negative numbers don't work, but that's useful. And if this is no longer an appointment reason that you want to use, then you can tick inactive. So this is looking at what all of the buttons in the appointment reasons page do. Next up, this is where we can build our staff hours, so your templates for each staff member. So I'm just going to call this Optinet weekdays, for example, because what we can do here is choose the staff member, choose the appointment reason. So when you double click on an appointment in the diary, that's the reason that will come up. You may well have something like please select or available or choose from list, depending on your setup in practice. And this is how most diaries could or should look. It's very much open to interpretation how you run your diary, but what this is going to build in 30-minute slots from 9 until 1 o'clock, i.e. 9, 9:30, 10, 10:30, and it's from the first minute of the first to the last minute of the last. My point being there that the last available appointment would be 12:30 to book in 30-minute slots. So for example, if I try to build those in 35-minute slots, it's warning that those combinations don't fit. Like when we did long division at school, you couldn't have a remainder. So 9, 9:35, 10:10, 10:45, 11:20, 11:55, 12:30. So it wouldn't quite fit. So it's just warning you that those times aren't quite compatible. Lunch breaks built in. So that's the non-bookable reason, which we'll demonstrate in a moment. Then I'm back in the afternoon. So if, for example, on a Saturday, I only work until 1 o'clock, we can see here Optinet Saturday. So it may well be that your staff hours is just one for each optometrist, so one for Bill, one for Ben, and one for Karen, whatever it might be. But of course, if Karen finishes at 4 o'clock on a Thursday, you can have one called Karen Thursday. The actual namings you give them doesn't affect which days you use them on. It's just whatever helps to keep you on track. And on the final page, what we can see here is it brings together everything from the last 4 pages. Indeed, this is where you'd normally be clicking on the diary, and if you click on Staff Planner, it'll get you straight here. So we can choose your branch, that was from step 1, choose our room, that was from step 2, choose our group, that was from step 4, and now we can build the diary. Little tip, by the way, just click on the day that you want first, and if I now drag and drop these appointments across, they've built for me. If I wanted to build for Wednesday, Thursday and Friday this week as well, if I hold on Control, CTRL, the very bottom left on my keyboard, sure it's run there for you too. I can choose all of those days and now drag and drop them all across and build them. If I wanted to remove them, let's keep on just 10, 11, 12 here. I can right click and choose delete time slots. I'm going to choose all selected dates because that will now strip it out day at a time and remove the appointments. If there's anyone booked in, really important to say, they will not be affected. It will always respect the people that you've got booked in already. It would just, as I say, it removes the bookshelf, not the books as it were, so we can see what's going on here. We're also able to right click to just delete an individual time slot. So if I just select that one there, then it's just going to delete the morning, for example. You can use the replace staff member function here as well, if, for example, it's now going to be Bill, not Ben. But in my opinion, it's probably easier to do that just in the front end of Flex. Click and drag across all the appointments and choose replace staff or change staff. I think the wording is at the front of Flex. We can, of course, hold the control key down to select multiple days. Days in green, by the way, are Sundays and bank holidays. So the Easter weekend is shown, for example, there in green. And if you try to build for a date when you're not open, Flex will warn you about that as well. So I've just tried to build on a Sunday, and it's saying that we're not open, so I don't have to continue through that. Okay, looking through the buttons across the top. Appointment reminders. This is where you can set up text messages and or emails to go out at a time of your choosing. Generally speaking, for example, I could say, right, for this appointment reason, send the template called appointment reminder. And generally these are done normally 24 hours beforehand. So upon scheduling the appointment, the patient will get a message 24 hours in advance. If, of course, they've booked under 24 hours time, they wouldn't get that, which is why some practices also use confirmations. Those would go out immediately. I say immediately, within 15 minutes of booking the appointment. So I'll just delete that one off for now. And you can do those with emails as well. Oh, just upsetting Flex is what I'm doing. One sec. So moving on to the returning reasons. Perhaps motivation is a better word. This isn't necessarily just for patients who are booking in brand new. It could be for people coming back to you. What's actually made them walk through the door today? You've got a default list from ourselves here, but you can easily add one into the bottom. Again, I wouldn't recommend overtyping these because, for example, if you put Facebook on instead of GP referral, it may well be that anyone who's been under that reason before would then be showing separately. So, for example, if I put in social media, that's now got a new option in the list. And you can choose that. It's not mandatory input. We can make it mandatory. I'll tell you more about that. We can choose that when the patient comes to book in. Non-bookable reasons. You may remember that lunch was booked into our clinic automatically. Then we can just change the option within there, or indeed add other ones in. I was in a practice once, never forget it, where the optometrist got golf as a reason. So nice afternoon, didn't fancy it. Yeah, golf, why not? Auto appointment notes. In here, if we activate these, we've got the option per branch to display the patient's age. It will automatically go on as an appointment note. You don't have to do that, of course, it's an on-off function. And do you want to show, for example, something like NHS or private? I'll put those in the wrong way around. We can show that, for example, P or just PRV. That will show up on the patient's record automatically on the appointment. And indeed, are they an old patient or a new patient? That can be marked on too. It's up to you which parts of that you use, but it will automatically populate a note on that patient's record. Staff restrictions. So let's say, for example, we've got a CLO. Then what we could do in here for the site exam, if we've got the staff member, let's call it Mr. Optinet. Firstly, you can warn, saying, are you sure you want to book a site exam with Mr. Optinet? But what you can also do is if we tick not allowed, I wouldn't be able to book in a site examination with that staff member now. So you've got a CLO. Another example, enhanced services, where you've got a locum who's not registered in your region to do ACEs, PAIRS, MECs, whatever it might be. So many acronyms, aren't there? You'd be able to choose that. So you can just restrict that. It's also a useful way to trim down the appointment list for different staff members. And slot restrictions, not so much on the individual, but what you can do here is actually choose how many of a certain type of appointment you want to have that day. So, for example, we might have in here that children's site exams or over 90s site exams to only have so many of these per day. If you want to put a restriction on there, that can be quite useful. So we've looked through all of the appointment setup here. So the staff plan is generally where you'll click to build the diary. Remember, you can select multiple days here to build if you want to. But we'll have a look at the other places where the appointments can be modified, which is in the branch table. So if I click into here, just a couple of settings. The data tab, by the way, is always worth looking at when we've done an update to Flex to see a few changes which we might have made. What we have in here are a few options for the diary. So, generate number of weeks ahead. Flex can auto-build the diary, which can be really useful or really annoying depending on how you work. So if we wanted to build 12 weeks ahead, we just have to have the 12 weeks built in the first instance, but then it's automatically going to copy ahead for us. We often get support calls around end of March time, because a practice will have removed their diary for a week at Christmas. It's building 12 weeks ahead, and it's just automatically not stamped that as it moves forward. We mentioned Flex can warn if you come to book an NHS appointment early. It's on 30 days by default. Again, it's more kind of just by nation now, less so than health authorities who used to have quite varying rules. PCTs, CCGs, I should say, health authorities. So you can set there how many days early to book an appointment. Use auto attend. So an appointment can be turned green automatically when a patient attends. So to save you having to remember to mark it each time, instead of cancelled or failed, it can auto attend for you. Display in 12-hour time, again, includes the name. Instead of using the 24-hour clock, it would just show AM and PM in the margin of the appointments. We've spoken about the return reason. Making it mandatory would mean that it's automatically going to nudge you to get that reason from the list. Prompt to split after moving or cancelling an appointment. Depending how your diary is built, for example, for practices who build their diary in 10-minute slots, you'd have to split out an appointment that was an hour. It can automatically prompt to move that. Bit more of not so much an advanced feature, but if you've never needed that before, you probably won't need it moving forward. And display patient note alerts from the arrivals widget. On the home page, we have the arrival screen, which shows all the appointments due in that day. It's just to be able to display any prominent alerts, not just patient notes, but the actual alerts through that screen. So a few useful settings here within the branch setup as well. Because it's in the branch setup, if you do have multiple branches, you just have to set it for each one in there. So a normal day, as it were, would be click to menu and setup, choose appointments, then under the staff planner, on the day or the days that we want, you go in to build the diary. But with the auto build, it should be very autonomous, really. It would only be for holidays or absences that you might be changing it. So going back now to the appointment diary proper, that yellow triangle, by the way, there warning us that we've made changes. Again, you can check out the portal for more information about that. But on the appointment diary here, we've got some appointment times built, and we can start to look at everything we've discussed, from the appointment reasons to why that patient's coming through the door, to are they going to get a confirmation text or email. Everything we've looked through is all shown there. So this is the first in the series of our Dig Deep, which looks at one of the different sections of Flex in a lot more detail, going through and seeing what every button does. Don't forget, you can find a lot more information about this through our portal. You can visit on any device, flexhelp.co.uk, but I've just clicked on the blue question mark in Flex, and it's taken us through, which will talk you through all of these different pages here. As always then, thanks for being a Flex customer. Any more queries, drop us a ticket through the portal. Thanks for your time.